Thank you for coming into our fireside chat from Singapore to Silicon Valley. We are ready to start. Calling in our speaker, Mr. Desmond. And guys, if you take your seats, please. We do have the front rows empty for a more close-up view if you are willing to come forward from the back. But if not, no pressure. All right, so to give the formal introductions, I'd like to hand it over to the moderator for today's session, Mr. Charlie, representing Vita Verify. He will bring you through some house rules as well as where you are. Here you go, Charlie.
Right. Thanks, Raphael. Awesome. So nice to see everyone today. So the front seat is really still empty. So for y'all, please come forward. I mean, like, Ina, come. Don't be shy. Sarah, yes, in front. All right, awesome. All right, so Mr. Desmond. A bit of introduction about today, right? Is we are gonna be talking about fundraising and also like share about our entrepreneurial journey from SMU, because a bit about us, Desmond and I, we are both SMU alumni. I just graduated 6 months ago. Desmond graduated when?
I'm quite old. 2010. I was actually class of 2010. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you'll get to see both spectrum, I guess. And also, our startup, we are both part of the BIG alumni as well. So today we'll be talking about our entrepreneurial journey and like how we go through everything. Especially we'll hear more about Desmond because this is the real case study of the success stories right here. I'm just starting out. So Desmond, can you please tell us a bit about yourself and about your SMU journey to where you are currently?
Of course. Well, first of all, thank you so much everyone for like being here, and thank you Charlie for being the host today. I'm very glad and very humbled to be here. So I was actually SMU class of 2010. I was here from 2006 to 2010. I was actually joined SOB and this SOA. I was this Lee Gong Chen scholar too. I was the third batch or the fourth batch when I was here. So it has been about 12, 13 years since I've been back here. So yeah, very, very glad to be back here today.
Awesome. So probably share about similarities as well. So I am the first batch of the Singapore SMU computer science. So I'm actually the first graduate ever from this cohort.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I'm
congrats.
I'm Indonesian, right? So I'm part of the Tanoto Foundation Scholar as well.
Awesome.
So Workstream, right? So can you tell us a bit more about Workstream and what does Workstream do?
Yeah. Sounds great. I can even jump in here to share a bit about this founding story. Is that helpful? Maybe I can start from that, then jump onto what like we are trying to build here. Do you think that's fine, Charlie?
Awesome. I'd like to hear the inspiration behind the business.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. So I founded my first business right after high school to actually pay for college. So my parents, they are both hourly workers. My dad's a driver. My mom, she's a cleaner. They both only finished 4th grade. I'm the first to actually go to school and to go to the US on my own. So when I was in this college here, actually, SMU, I actually founded this Thai food restaurant selling pad Thai, tom yum for about 3 years. We used to be at this actually SMU SIS, 2nd floor. So we actually used to have this space there that could seat about 50 over people. So I was actually running that for about 3 years. And then afterwards, after SMU, I actually went out to join Merrill Lynch, where I did banking covering Southeast Asia for about 3 years. Then I went to the US in 2013. I went to MIT and this Harvard for school. I left to join WeChat as their very early PM based in the US. Then I moved out to the Bay Area in 2016. And then I've been based there since. It was in late 2017 when me, Max, and Lei, my 2 other founders, when we actually started Workstream. So it is this end-to-end people software that's built for companies hiring deskless hourly workers. So we now work with more than 4,000 clients from this Chick-fil-A, Dunkin', Merit, UPS, and more, where we will actually help them to hire, onboard, manage hourly workers faster and also better through texting and through this software. So, yeah.
Very great to see like you experience firsthand from your parents' experience, and then you being managing your own business from the first time and actually solving the pain for this.
Thank you so much, Charlie. Yeah, thank you.
How's your experience in SMU help the journey in Workstream?
Yeah, it was so great. Like, as I shared, I've done so much when I was here. I think I was always so hungry to do so much things when I was here. I think the most relevant one that I will maybe start with is I think in my second year of school here at SMU, I was actually given the chance to run this restaurant. There was a space at this actually SMU SIS that was empty, and me and my then founders and teammates, we all went on to pitch the school to see if we could rent and lease the place to run this restaurant. And they all said yes. So back then, I think that was my second business that I have ever run.
Classroom, is it? Or?
Yes, it was supposed to be a space where people could hang out, but it was pretty empty and no one really used the space much. So me and my teammates, we went on to pitch the school, and we came up with this whole business plan to write to the school. And they said yes. So me and my founders, we pitched and share a pool of funding. I think it was 20 to 30K of funding and savings that we have. And we went on to buy ovens, tables, and chairs. So it was three of us. It was me and my two other founders, Liz and Lisha. And I was the one who was doing everything linked to ops, finance. One was doing everything linked to food, marketing, and one was doing PR and more. So it was very fun because it was a real offline business where we needed to learn how to cook, how to set the menu, how to serve, how to prep the food. I'm a very, very bad cook and very, very bad chef, but my other teammates, they were very good. So we all had we had different skill sets that we could actually partner up on. But it was very tough from the start, but it was very fun. So we started to learn how to cook the food, how to run the whole supply chain, how to do marketing. So I think that was my second business that I have ever run, but it was just so much fun, right? We had a real space that could seat about 50 people. We were holding events every other week. Food business is very tough, but it was also so fun. So I would say that's the first half of a very real hands-on experience to build something from this ground up. I will share two other points of how my time here at school was very helpful. I think point two was actually just all the very relevant classes that I took from here, which I think I could ask maybe who of you are current students here? Maybe can I ask that? Just two? The rest are not students? Okay, it's fine. So I took many classes here. For example, I took CAT. CAT is a class at this SIS taught by Prof. Michelle Chong in terms of how to use Excel to do calculation for this business. I think that class was very helpful. One other class that I took was corp reporting around how to run models, finance, and more. So I would say there were 3 to 4 classes that were very helpful to help me with the right finance, Excel, business, marketing skill sets that I've been able to use even from the past, even when I was running my own Thai food restaurant all the way to now. I would say this core sets of business skill sets was very helpful. I think the third point I felt my time at this SMU was so helpful was just being exposed to a really broad range of things, right? I was able to go overseas 5 times. In my freshman year, I actually went to Silicon Valley in my freshman year here at school. It was part of a SMU business mission study trip. I think it was the one and only trip that the school has ever held to go to Silicon Valley, I think. And it was so fun. We went to Google, eBay, and various startups over there. I think that was really helped me to actually open up my eyes in my very first year at school here. And after that, I was able to go to London, where I was there for 1 whole year, and I did several overseas trips too. That was very helpful. So I'll say those are the 3 pointers on how my time here was so helpful for me.
Awesome. So this running the business, planning the business, teaching the business, and the exchange programs all concurrent with your double degree as well.
Yes, it was very busy but fun. I think at the same time, I was also playing basketball for school. I was actually basketball captain for the school. So I was training like 3 or 4 times every week. So I was pretty busy, but it was fun.
24 hours is not enough.
It was great. It was great.
Awesome. Like Desmond is really like the legend. Like I've like to any Singaporean founder I talk to, I say, have you talked to Desmond? Have you talked to Desmond? Right? He's really the legend.
Thank you.
In Singapore, in Silicon Valley. So So let's switch topic a bit here, right? About the fundraising, right? So Desmond, you have been like very successful in your fundraising journey, right? So you have raised capital from the premium tier, the venture capitalists. You got founders, founders fund, GGV, Charles River Ventures. You've got the C executive of like the premier tech companies from Logitech, Zoom, Stripe, and many more, and also celebrities, I believe, right? Jay-Z, Will Smith, Chainsmoker. So it's really like the list just goes on and on. So like, could you share a bit more about like how's your fundraising journey, like right from the beginning, and how were you able to raise fund from these legendaries as well?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Charlie, for your very kind words. I think overall, I've raised funding about 6 times overall. So I've been through about 6 rounds of fundraising. The first one was very tough. I think the first one, it took me, and this is for my prior company. Prior to this Workstream, I was then based in this Boston. I was working on my prior startup called QuickForce, which failed. I think my very first round of funding, I had raised total about $500,000 for that round of funding. It took me about 6 to 9 months, but it was tough, right? It was very early. I was in the US on my own. I was this foreigner immigrant without much links and much network. So I tried many times and turned down by almost everyone that I met. And I think my first check was from this Harvard alum, and he wrote me this $50K check. I was so thrilled. I was just over the moon for the very first angel check that I came in. And even that took me like 3 whole months to really build that trust, to really pitch him on what we were doing, on why this could do well, you know? So I think that was the very first time. And I think my very first round of funding, I probably pitched about 100 over people. And in the end, I got about 7 to 10 angel checks that came together, of which some of them actually came from Singapore. For my very first round of funding, I was very glad to get some help from back home too. So I would say that was my very first round of like funding, which was quite challenging. It took me a very long time, but through that, I learned so much in terms of what the people look for. How do you build trust? How do you connect with folks? And when it came to Workstream, I think we raised our first round of funding was 2018 February. I think that was my seed round of funding. It was a $2.4 million round of funding. It was a bit better than the prior few rounds that I had raised. It took me about 3.5 weeks. So it was fairly quick. We raised this $2.4 million round of funding. We had been put in touch with a fund. It's called Set Ventures. So they actually led our very first round of funding. And I had pitched their GP Lan, and Lan had talked about 4 to 5 days, and she came back with this offer to actually lead our very first round of funding. She was going to write like a $1 million check on a $10 million post. So we said yes to it very fast too. And very quickly after, there was various checks that like came in. Actually, our very first check came from Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom. He's been a very close mentor of mine now for the past 7-8 years. I actually just met him for lunch here in this Singapore yesterday. He was actually here, CEO of Zoom. So Eric's been a very kind and helpful mentor to me right from the start. He is also this immigrant founder who built Zoom out to be one of the best companies in the world. So after Eric, I was able to get a few other angel checks from there. So that was my first round of funding for this Workstream. My second round of funding was a bit harder, I would say, because trying to raise Series A for any company is always hard. I think Series A is known as the round whereby you need to have some business model because prior to Series A, for first round of funding, you can raise it based on you and your team, based on trust, based on vision. But for Series A, it was keen to have some traction. I think we had about 500,000 of this funding. Sorry, we have about 500,000 of this client customers, and we had probably some traction. Our team was about 20, 30 people then, of which some of my early teammates, they are here today too. So yeah, so we had pitched about 60 funds for our Series A funding. And we actually had quite a few no's also from the start. And Series A, it is a bit harder because you have to find one person to actually say, I'm going to write like a slightly bigger check to actually so-called take the lead for your round. So that was a bit different from my prior rounds where people can come in on their own pace. It was more like a rolling close. Whereas for Series A, you must find someone who really wants to take the lead. So we pitched like 60 open funds. In the end, we were very thankful. We actually got 7 offers. In the end, we all chose Peter Thiel's Founders Fund to actually take the lead for our Series A. And Keith Rabois, he was the CEO for Square. He was part of the PayPal mafia with this Elon Musk, Peter Thiel. So he actually came on to really join our board then. And Keith's been so helpful as a board member since. So that was for our Series A. And Series B funding was really good. It was in 2021. It was at the peak of the whole like macro, you know. So we went out to pitch, and in 9 days, we got 12 term sheets. 12 term sheets in really 7 to 9 days from many of the top funds in this valley. I think it was helpful too that then we had very strong traction in our business. We had grew like 7x or 10x in a very short time. And our team was just growing very, very well. And I think the very final round of funding, which we had raised, I think it was a $60 million Series B plus that Hans Tong from this GGV Capital led, was 2022 in May, June. That round, it was a bit more challenging because the whole like macro had changed, you know? So very happy to dive into any more of this round to actually go a bit deeper if it's helpful. But I would say that trying to summarize it all, I would say that when you try to raise funding, it is always about 3 things. It is about your team, market, product. So team, market, product. Coming back to your team, it is about who is on your founding team, right? Who are your founders? Do you have the right person who is going to do business, sales, marketing? Someone who is going to write the code, the software, and someone who is more like the ops person who will kind of fill in the gaps. I think you must have a very strong founding team who really wants to be doing this for the next 5 to 10 years. Second is about your market. How big is your market, right? Do you have to raise venture capital funding? Is it something that can go public, right? Is it something that is very big? That is the second point. The third point is about product. Like, why hasn't anyone built what you have built in the past? What is the pain point that you are trying to solve? So I'll say those are the 3 points when I think about going out to raise funding.
So these are in terms of priority.
No, I would say that all 3 are pretty crucial. I'll actually rank them to be the same.
Awesome. So really great to hear like the spectrum and the differences from like your first funding until like now your Series B plus as well. So probably since we are in an incubator and most of us are also like early stage, probably I'll scope the next follow-up question to be a bit more towards the seed funding you mentioned, where
yes,
it's a lot about like the relationship building the trust with the investor and re-nurturing them, right? So how, I'm pretty sure this also takes time, right? So how do you balance out like your time being spent on like nurturing this and actually doing the sales and operations of the company on the operation of the company and growing it.
Yeah, so you're trying to ask like, how do I balance my time to go out to raise funding versus trying to run my own business, right?
Yeah, on the early stage, since it takes 6 to 9 months, right? You mentioned.
Yes, I would say that on the average, fundraising is either the very top thing on my mind or it is the last. And why I say that is I believe that when you are going out to fundraise, you should spend all your time on it in a very tight time span. In the case of like 3 to 6 weeks, if you can. And when you're not fundraising, you should say no. You shouldn't take so many meetings. And coming back to the context of your very first round of funding, right, it will be a bit harder because it takes so much time to raise, right? So what I did was over a period of like 6 to 9 months, I met with some people, but I wasn't trying to raise. I was trying to build trust. I was trying to sell my vision story. I was trying to say, why are me and my team doing this? And I'll be doing this for a period of about 6 months to build trust and to actually connect with like folks. But I don't try to pitch. I don't try to raise. Okay. But I will let this 30, 40 people know about me and know about why am I doing this. Then when I'm actually ready to raise in a period of 3 to 4 weeks, I'll meet with maybe about 100 people at once every single day. And I would say that, hey, I'm now out to raise. I'm trying to raise a round of like 3 to 400K, right? Are you keen to chat? So that is the way that I do it. I try to, over a period of 6 to 9 months, try to pitch, but I try to not pitch, but just try to build trust. Then when I pitch, I really meet many people in a very short time.
Awesome. So this after you nurture this relationship, that's where you will set a time like a few weeks to first gather the soft commits and actually close.
Yes, yes. Because one of the very key thing about fund raising is like it's very helpful if you can talk to many people at the same time. So you can create some kind of FOMO or fear of missing out, right? Because the power, it is not very balanced as a very new founder and as a fund, right? The power is all in the fund because the fund can say no, whereas you can't say no. You can only say only after they give this offer can you say no, right? So when you try to line up like, let's say many funds or angels who you can talk to all at once, it will give you much more options and this choices, which is very helpful. Okay. Yeah, and I think one other thing that people don't think about is like trying to fundraise. It is an art. It is a science. You have to keep trying to practice. It is not easy to really get your pitch right. I would say that when I was raising my Series A, the first 3 weeks I wanted to pitch and my pitch was wrong. I got so many no's. I got no's from more than like 50, 60 over funds. Then my seed fund, basically said ventures, Lan and her whole team came down to my house area and we practiced like the whole Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and she changed my whole script. Everything, right? Trying to sell the bigger vision, picture. And the next day after, we all went out to pitch and we got 6 offers right away. So it really takes time to kind of fine-tune your pitch and to change the way that you pitch too.
So I mean, you tease us real good right there. I mean, like, so what's the vision of Workstream and like, does it is it always been the same since like day one?
Yes, I would say that. So I think like for this Workstream, I think our company purpose is really Deskless deserves better. There's just a huge gap in terms of software built for people who work in this deskless hourly space, right? There's more than 2.7 billion deskless hourly workers in the world. In the US, there's actually more than 80 million hourly deskless workers from drivers, cleaners, restaurants, retail, and more. There's a huge gap in terms of software built for them. If we see today's software from Workday, Salesforce, Zoom, and Slack, they are all really built for people who work in office and who work in tech. There's a huge gap in terms of good B2B software that's built for people who work in this hourly space. And that is what we are really trying to do, trying to build this mobile first software that really helps these businesses to be able to hire, onboard, manage better and this faster through texting. So I think that is truly what we are really trying to build here.
Awesome. Are you mainly currently based in the US?
Yeah. So as of now, I'm based in the US, based in actually San Francisco Bay Area. That is where I'm based at today. Yes.
Awesome.
That's my wife and girls and my parents over there behind. Hi, Angela, Nora.
Awesome. So so any advice do you have for like SMU and also a lot of people we have today?
Do you want to say hi, Angela?
Hi,
Say hi to everyone. What is your name?
Angela,
How old are you?
6.
Daddy's gonna finish the talk. Can you go back and wait for me first? Want to see that? Sit over there. Come. You can see over there. Yeah, so I have 2 girls now, 3 and 6. Yeah, daughters. Hi, Angela. Yeah, so coming back, right? Maybe sharing a quick overview, right? Our company now is about 250 people overall. So we have hubs across San Francisco, Vancouver, Canada, Utah, Philippines, and this Singapore. So we have about 250 over folks now. We have built actually very strong hubs of this talent. For example, in this Philippines, we have many strong customer support staff. In this Vancouver, we have a lot of really good engineers. And in the Bay Area, we have various teammates from product, ops, founders, and more. And I would actually say that I'm trying to link that back to actually here, SMU, we have been able to get a lot of really good pipeline in terms of talent, both from SMU and from Singapore. We have got our very first intern over here, actually, Desiree. Do you want to wave your hand? Yeah. So actually, she was a SMU senior or junior when we very first met. And she joined us as an intern back then through this SMU BIG and this GII program. So she had joined us for this internship in the US for like 4 to 5 months. So it was really great. And then she joined us and she did so well. And then after that, she joined us full-time since, and she has been now on the team now for the past 4 years. So I'll say that it's been so helpful to work with this GII program. They've been so helpful for us in terms of trying to help us find really great talent, just like Desiree. So we are really trying to actively hire and find really good talent from interns to this actually full-time folks. So anyone who is on Zoom or who is here, if you are keen to find a job either based in the Valley or based here, please come up to us, to my teammates here too afterwards. And then other than that, we have got some other great teammates here like this, Austin, who also our very first intern too, but he's from this NUS, right? So we have got a lot of really good interns and programs from various schools here in this actually Singapore, who has been really helpful for us.
Awesome. Any specific openings that you're opening?
Yeah, I would say that yes. I would say like we have many roles anywhere from marketing, software, engineering that we are trying to hire for. I would say like one of the things that we are trying to do is we're trying to hire more software engineers here also, in terms of this actually engineering managers and software engineers. So very open for any of those roles, from interns to this full-time roles, who may either want to join us based in the Bay Area or based here, Singapore. So we are very keen to actually hire people.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I think you were trying to ask one more question, like in terms of any advice, guidance that I have for folks from here, SMU, right?
SMU and also the Singapore generations, next generation.
Yeah, I would say that one of our company value is really humble and hungry. That's one of our top company value. This is a value and trait that I really valued and I had since even when I was a current student here, right? Being very humble and hungry helps you to be very open-minded, to actually want to learn from people. I think even back when I was this freshman here, I was actually writing cold emails to mentors every single day, trying to write to them to see if I can learn from them. Even when I was back here, I was doing 5 to 6 classes every single term while I was trying to play basketball, while I was trying to run this restaurant. I was just so hungry. And yet I was really just very humble and very keen to learn from the people. I think that trait really helped me throughout my past 10 over years. When I first went to Silicon Valley, I was then like a first year master student at this Harvard. The first thing I did was I wrote emails to more than 100 over startups in the Bay Area, trying to ask them, can I work for you for free? That was my tagline. So I wrote to about 100 startups in the Bay Area, and I think most of them said no. Like, why would they take this immigrant foreigner to work here? There was one very small startup founded by these 2 female immigrants who said yes to me. So I paid for my own flight, flew all the way from east to west. I crashed at my friend's house who was doing her PhD at this actually Stanford, and I worked there for like 2 to 3 months. So I was just so hungry. I was, throughout the 10 years I was there, even when I was back in Boston, I was doing like 7 classes every term while I was trying to run my own company, my prior startup. So I'll say that is the very first advice that I have. The second advice I have, which is also a very strong company value that we have, is actually be relentlessly resourceful, which is trying to be creative, trying to do more with less, right? I think I come from a very humble background, like my Nora. Let's say hi, Desmond. Say hi. Can you all see that over there for a while? Angela, come sit in front of me.
Very cute.
There's 2 seats over there. Why don't each of you take one? Desmond, Austin, come. Angela. Okay, I will just quickly finish. Y'all can stand here then. Okay, cool. So I was saying that my second value was about how to do more with less every single day. I would say like some stories of that was, I was then on a very tight budget at school. And what I did was I would actually work as a tour guide, trying to bring foreign students around Harvard campus every day. And I was trying to show them the school while I was trying to work as this tour guide. And that is so helpful because that really helps me to practice this public speaking, earning some cash, and being able how to have this side hustle.
Awesome.
Sorry for that, yeah.
So based on that story, I'm guessing your first check, the 50K from the Harvard alum, was also from that cold email that.
Yes, I would say that writing cold emails has been one of the most underrated skill set that I have learned over the past 10 over years. I think I have wrote cold emails really for the past 10 years. Even when I was like a current student here at this actually school here, SMU, I was almost writing cold emails every single week. And same when I was going out to fundraising, maybe the way I say is that it's a bit different when you come to raising funding. My first few rounds of fundraising, I wrote quite a bit of cold emails, but I want to be clear that when I wrote those first few emails, it was not to ask for funding, because it's very hard to write a cold email and straight away ask for funding. I was trying to ask for advice, guidance. I would say that one of my, other than this very first track, I wrote a cold email to this actually Mark Cuban, who I think you all know is a very famous business person based in the US. I didn't try to ask for funding right from the start. I was trying to ask for advice. I was trying to ask like a question, right? Because trying to get someone to write back to you on this email, the bar is so high, right? Everyone here we get at least 10 to 30 cold emails every single day, right? But it is hard to straight away write an email and ask, can you give me X? That is very hard. I'm always trying to think about how can I pay it forward? How can I be helpful to someone else, right? So I will write this email thinking about a few things. How can I build trust in my title, in my very first line, either through brands or through things that we have in this common. Secondly, I will try to share just 2 lines about what we are trying to do. Thirdly, I will go for the ask. But my ask it is not to ask for funding. It could be, do you think I should hire in X or Y? What do you think about this market, right? So I would say that trying to write cold about emails, it is an art that I think everyone here should be trying to do more.
Awesome. I've heard the quote similar to what the line you just said, where it says, ask for advice and ask for money and you often get advice, and you ask for advice and often you get money. So I think to close off today's session, really pretty sure you all have a lot of questions that you all want to ask Desmond, who is the amazing students when he was in SMU, amazing founders, and today, just recently, I found out he's also a very, very amazing father as well. So yeah.
Thank you, Charlie.
I'll just open the session for the floor for any of you all who have questions.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Charlie. Yeah. Questions?
Hi, good morning.
Hi, morning.
When you mentioned that you would be humble and you would chase or be hungry, would you normally find yourself be alone doing all of these things, or you would normally have somebody who you could do these things with and who would keep you on track? Yeah.
So, sorry, can I get your name, please? And are you like a current student or?
I'm a current student here doing Masters in Management, and my name is Dhruv.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Doing well, doing well.
Awesome. So you were trying to ask me, when I'm doing all of this thing, do I work with a team or do I do it on my own, right?
Not just a team, but just somebody there with you, like a companion or a friend who would be there with you to figure things out together or something like that.
Is it when I'm going out to raise funding, or is it just on a everyday
basis?
Yeah, I would say that on an everyday basis, because trying to work on this early stage company is so hard. So in an early team of 3 to 5 people, we're always trying to have very niche scope. So for me, I was always doing sales, marketing, finance, whereas my other teammate, my co-founder Max, he was trying to write all the software coding, and my other founder Lei, he was trying to do everything linked to product, customers, and more. We were very focused and we went very deep in what we were doing. That is very key, because in this early stage company, it is so tough. There's no time, right? It is going to be very hard for you to be helping your teammates all the time. So we went very deep, but when we have questions, when we want to ask each other, like, what should we be doing? You can always go to your teammates, but on a very micro day-to-day basis, we will go very deep first. And even more so when I was out to raise funding, that was always the role that I play in terms of trying to connect with people, trying to pitch people. I would say like the first 4 to 5 touch points, meetings, emails with any angels or funds, it was all done by me. In the very final round, when we pitched like a much bigger fund, is when I will bring in my founders to actually join me for this final pitch. Is this helpful?
Yes, because at the moment, even I'm managing a business back home, as well as doing classes here and doing sports and trying to start a business right here. And I am not able to find anybody who connects with me, or, find more teammates who would be as interested as I am. And I wish to have more people to be able to share things with or connect with. So I just want to know if you had the same journey as well, and is this how things normally are?
Yeah, that's very good. What's your business?
We sell safety products to data centers in India.
Awesome.
So they are fire suppression and a few leak detection systems.
That's so cool.
Whereas what I'm interested here is to build a startup in aerospace, particularly in drones.
That's awesome.
That is what my background has been during my bachelor's, and that is something like I have an idea and we're trying to work about that.
Awesome.
Okay.
Congrats.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I would love to do something as similar or as big as you are doing.
Thank you. Yeah, we are still very early too, but it is great that you are doing what you are doing. Congrats.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Question? Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi,
Hello.
Desmond. My name is Ina. I have a startup, so I'm one of the incubators in BIG.
Awesome.
Thanks for the very inspiring sharing. Could you share with us a bit more in the really, really early stage? For example, when you receive your angel fund, did you already have validated your the problem? Basically, were you able to show certain kind of growth, basically to show that there is really a problem before you raise fund, or you were able to raise fund with the vision? Why I'm asking this question is, I think in Singapore, a lot of the startup will say that in Silicon Valley, you can raise fund with the PowerPoint, but in Singapore, you got to raise fund with the recurring annual revenue. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Lina, right?
Ina.
Ina, thank you so much, Ina. Yeah, that is a very good question. I would say that whether it's in Singapore or whether it is in the Valley or even anywhere else, I would actually say that the longer you can push back your fund raising, the better. Because once you get funding from anyone, even if it's like a 20K check or even like a 5K check, you will start to feel some stress, right? You will feel the stress of, oh, I have to do very well in order to pay back something for this funding. So I would say that what I typically tell other founders is try to bootstrap as long as you can with no funding. Try to first be very clear on what you are trying to build, what problem you are trying to solve, and try to find 1 to 3 other founders who wants to be on this journey first. I would say that because all those things are very tough. Those can take anywhere from like 3 months to even 3 years, right? So it is actually very helpful if you can first define very clearly. So I'm saying all of this in the context of like a first-time founder, someone who is trying to do this for the very first time. Try to work on all of this first. Try to not think about trying to raise funding first, because once you think about trying to raise funding, you could change your idea to kind of get the money, or it may take so much time from you. So I'll say the general advice that I have is to figure out what you are trying to build. Even if you don't have the real software or like tech built out, find your team. It's very hard to find a team of founders who want to be in this for a very long time, and think about what pain point and what market you are trying to solve. So I would say that you should start from these things first. And coming back to raising the first round of funding, I would say that my general thought is like, it is actually easier to raise funding when you have no like revenue or no sales. That may sound a bit counter to what what you see here, but it's true that you are so early, right? You are probably about 3 to 5 teammates serving 7 to 10 clients. It's so hard to show any kind of growth, right? Because when you talk about VCs and funds, what they want to see is like very strong growth, but it's so hard to show that when you're very early on. It's even worse to show that you have 10 clients for the past 12 months, right? Which is very normal when you're trying to build this earlier stage company. So actually, my very first round of funding for this Workstream, when I first wanted to pitch, I didn't show any kind of growth. I just said that we have 10 clients who love our software, and they are paying us very small, right? Think about like 10 to 20K every year. This is very, very small amount of this money, but I was able to focus on people, the team, the huge market, and the pain point that we are trying to solve. So I would say that is the general advice that I give. From the point of view of an angel or this VC, they will of course always try to ask you for this numbers, revenue. It makes sense because from their lens, it will make the whole funding much less risky, right? So I would say on the average for my first round of funding, I would actually try to not show any growth, just show my team, market, product, and say that we are not yet ready to show any growthers, and try to raise some form of like funding from there. So that is the way that I think about it. Is this helpful?
It's super helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So you're now doing your own company?
Yes. So we have an AI software that train customer service and salespeople.
Oh, nice.
So instead, you talk to AI to train to have different scenarios to get exposure to that.
That is so cool. Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. I think that hand first, then followed by you. Maybe over there first. Yeah.
Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Nick. Thank you so much for sharing here the last hour. It's been really helpful. I work at a company that's now going on a global expansion trip. So in your experience, what have been the challenges going from your initial office, several locations, different countries, and how have you solved them?
Thank you, Nick. Nick, can you share a bit about where's your company and team trying to grow from and trying to grow to? I think that would be very helpful to add more context to this question.
Sure. So we're currently our HQ is based in Sweden, and we have offices in Northern Europe, 5 of them currently. And we're looking into maybe an office in the US in 2023 or 2024. And now I'm here discovering the APAC markets.
Awesome. Very helpful. So I would say that I would say almost every other month or every month I would kind of like connect with some founders who's from Singapore or from Southeast Asia who's trying to grow to the US. That is, I think that is a trend that is going on, and I'm very humble and thankful to be one of the few Singaporean founders in the US. I would say the very first question I would typically ask them is, are you focused on the US market in terms of US customers? I would say that based on the stage of your company, if it's a very earlier stage company versus it is a very large company, it is a bit different, right? In the context of today's sharing, I will talk more about earlier stage, smaller companies. I would say that if you're very early stage, it's actually better to focus. If you're a team of, let's say, 5 to 10 people, or even 30, 40, it's very hard to focus both on Singapore, Sweden, and the US, right? So I would say that you should choose one of them to actually fully focus on for the first 1 to 2 years. If you want to focus on the US, you should move your whole team to the US. If you want to focus on this Singapore, you should move your whole team here and really like go all in, because it's so hard to be even serving one single market. Trying to build this earlier stage company is just so challenging. It's just so tough. In the context of a bigger company, I would say yes, you probably have enough revenue, customers, and sales. So you should probably send like a tiger team of like anywhere from like 2 to 5 people, who I would say like ideally is a mix of teammates who's both from that country and from your HQ, right? In the context, if you're trying to grow to the US, it's helpful if you can have a tiger team of like 3 to 4 people, like 1 or 2 who is from Sweden, who have the DNA, the values, the culture from this company, and have 2 to 3 people who is actually local from the US. So being able to build this team will be very helpful. So you have the best of both worlds to actually push things forward. So I'll say that is the way that I think about it. Is this helpful, Nick?
Yeah, thank you very much.
And is your company like a more early stage company? Is it a bigger company?
Yeah, we're about 35, 40 people, so we're still quite small.
Nice. That is very cool. And what are you all doing?
We work with a software solution for reference checking and recruitment.
Oh, nice. So you're in the same space, hiring
Correct.
space. That's awesome. We all should chat more afterwards.
Sounds great.
Thank you, Nick. One more question over there. Yeah.
Hi, Desmond. Hi, my name is Jeremy.
Hi, Jeremy.
I'm the founder of Simply Good, class of 2018 from SMU.
Nice.
Congrats on your recent Series B fundraise, by the way.
Thank you.
And thanks for sharing your fundraising experience and journey. I have 2 questions mainly, focused on mainly the seed to pre-Series A stage. The question first is, when you had to fundraise something so early, how did you justify your valuations, especially you had to show for nice revenue models? That's the first question, right? And the second question is more of, before you hit your A round, did you run into any challenges or runway in between your 6th fundraise? And how did you overcome some of these challenges if you did?
Yeah, I would try to answer the first question is around valuation and price. The second is around how do I keep the runway. So I'll maybe answer the second one first. I would say that, which is why my first point of guidance to folks was keep as lean as you can, right? Try to not even raise funding from the start, because once you raise funding, the clock kind of starts to tick, right? So I always try to keep as lean as you can from the start with 2 or 3 other founders. Even better if you are paid very low or you don't even get paid, because then you can be very open to solve problems, pain point, and to keep changing, because to build this company from a very early stage, you really need, like, I would say anywhere from 6 months to even 2 whole years to figure out what problem you are truly trying to solve and what you are truly trying to do. So I would say that for part 2 of what you were trying to ask, I'm always trying to actually first figure out what you're trying to do first. And you only go out to raise funding when you are very, very sure about what you really want to do. Correct? Yes? Say yes? Sorry. And then for the very first part of this question was about price. But I would say that trying to figure out the price of the company, I would say that trying to figure out the price of the company is always very tough. I would say it's both an art and a science. No, lady's trying to talk here. Lady talk first. Come take a seat first. Lady's trying to talk. Come. I would say that it's both an art and a science. There's no right way in terms of how to fix the price for your company. I would say as an early stage company, you probably take the price of this market more than you try to fix the price. Typically, what I do for earlier stage round of funding is you have to figure out what is the typical comps, what's the typical average price for your company in that market that you are trying to raise at and raise from. And then once you know the average, then you can come up with a range. I think when I was trying to raise my first round of funding, seed round of funding, the average was between 8 to 20 million for like a seed company with some customers, with a team of like 5 to 10 people, but with not much revenue. So I talked to other founders to actually try to understand and know what is the average range in terms of pricing. And when I went out to raise, this is a very key point for y'all who are like founders. I don't try to tell them what price that I want. This is a very key point. I will tell them, this is my business pitch. This is my growth, my team, market, product. I'm trying to raise anywhere from like 1 million to 3 million in this funding. I do not say what is the price. I would say that I'm trying to raise 1 to 3 million. Please share your price to me. And I will use the same pitch to pitch to 7 to 10 funds. And if you are very lucky, if you get 3 to 5 offers, then you can play a game. You can see who gives the best price, right? There's probably like funds A, B, C, D, E. And maybe fund A is the one that you want the most, but they give a price of like 7 million. Price E is a fund that you want the least, but they give you a price of like 20. You can then go back to fund A and say that, hey, you are my top choice, but can you bring up the price closer to fund D? So I would say that don't be too worried about the price, because most of the time you have no choice. It's really based upon the market, but you should do the homework first to know what is the average range. That is very key actually, because I see many startup founders in the very early days, they don't know what is the average and the norm, and they either raise at too low or even worse, too high a price. Because if you raise at a very high price from some like angel who don't know what is the right price, right? He or she just love you and your team and give you like a 100 million price. Then you're gone, right? How do you raise the next round of this funding? So I would say the way that I do is I figure out what's the average in this market, knowing the fair range, I got to tell folks how much I'm keen to raise. Try to create a very small market of 3 to 5 funds who want to chase you. Then you can slowly beat the price up. Is this helpful?
Yeah,
Jeremy?
thanks a lot, Desmond. Yes, it
Okay,
is.
great.
All right. I think there's some question from the Zoom as well.
Oh, yes,
so
please.
I think we have to answer some from the audience online as well.
I will help to read out the question. How do you decide between two great business ideas with different visions and solutions to different problems?
Yeah, I would say I always focus on this customers, focus on what the customers want. I think for every one of my earlier stage companies, I will actually talk to more than 50 or even 100 over customers. When the customers really want what you have, they will come and chase after you. They will run after you and say, hey, can you please build X? Can you please have this, right? This is all the way from a B to C, from a B to B company, right? But the main challenge with this is most companies and most ideas are wrong. So it's very hard to find the right traction and the right business when customers are chasing after you. So most companies in the very early stage, customers, they are not trying to run after you. So look for those early signs, early signals when people are so passionate about the problem and pain point that you are trying to solve, right? In our case with this work stream, of our first 50 clients, there was actually a couple of clients who cried. They were crying when they saw our software because we were saving them so much time and so much energy. And there were so many clients who gave us tens, if not hundreds of hours for free to teach us and to guide us how to build this better software. So I would say always talk to your customers, always hear what they have to ask.
Thank you. Katinio has another question as well. It can take 3 months to 3 years to set up. So how important it is to have different skill sets as compared to having people or personality types who can work with you?
Yeah, so the question is that it will take 3 months to 3 years. How important is it to keep learning?
To have
Is that right?
different skill sets.
Yeah, I would say that one of the things that I really like doing is to keep on learning. And how I learn typically is through a few ways. I read quite a lot of books. I talk to other mentors, founders very much, almost like every week, if not every other week. And those are the things that I do. I would say those are very crucial and very, very helpful. Coming back to what this person was trying to ask, I would say there's 2 kind of things that you can learn, right? Things that you are very good in, which is like, for example, I'm very good in sales, marketing, finance, and things that I'm not very good in, coding, trying to write software. In the very early days, I was trying to do both. And it was very tough for me to be doing both. In the end, I chose to double on things that I'm very good in, which is sales, marketing, finance, and I partner with someone who is very good in things that I'm not good in. So that was the tactic and choice that I did. So coming back to what was being asked, I would say yes. Keep trying to learn, through trying to read from books, trying to watch videos online, trying to learn from other founders. But I chose to keep doubling down on things that I was very good in already.
Hi, I'm Jason.
Hey.
Thanks for the talk, Desmond.
Of
I
course.
wanted to ask on the early stage. So can you talk about how you first decided to go tackle this problem? How did you find the problem? And did your hypothesis change along the way? And then a little bit into like your first customer. Can you talk a little bit about the story behind the first customer?
Yeah. Thank you so much. I would say that yes, our idea for sure have changed quite a few times on the way. I think I first started to think about building a B2B software company in 2017. And I was pretty sure I was going to build like a broader B2B software, trying to serve this hourly space. I wasn't very sure if I should start from payroll, if I should start from HRIS, start from hiring. So I wanted to talk to hundreds of these clients. And in the end, we chose to start from this hiring because through talking to many of these customers, we saw that hiring was such a deep pain point. It really took me about 1 whole year to actually change the path that we were trying to build. I broadly knew that this is the space, this is the general market that we were keen to serve. We generally knew that there was a huge gap in terms of software built for this space. I didn't know what I was trying to build yet. So I talked to many customers from the early stages and figured out that trying to source, hire, onboard people was a very deep and very huge pain point. And I think that was the first half of what you were trying to ask. I think the second half of what you're trying to ask was
Customers.
correct. My very first customer is a cafe chain called Coupa Cafe, based in the Bay Area at this Stanford. So back then, my wife, she was at this Stanford Business School, and she's way back there behind. She was back at school, and then I was actually, hey Ella. So she is also a founder too. You all could say hi to her too afterwards, Ella. Yeah, say hi. Yeah. So she was then back at school at this actually Stanford Business School. And I was then just trying to figure out what I was keen to do with life next. So I wanted to talk to many clients from Subway, Jamba Juice, but there was a cafe chain called Coupa Cafe, which was based there. So I wanted to talk to them, to kind of ask them what were their prompts or their pain points. I actually went into their cafe and their shop and even to their back office to kind of talk to them. That was very helpful because you really have to see what are the problems and pain points that your clients face to face. Even better if you can watch what they are doing, right? Because when you ask questions, if you ask someone, hey, what are the prompts you have when you're trying to hire people? Most people first thought will be, no, everything is going very, very well, right? Because when you ask people tend to be very positive in terms of how their work is every single day. But when you actually watch them and you see that, hey, they are spending tens of hours trying to post on job boards, trying to use Google Sheets, email, pen and paper to actually hire people, their notion of good, it is actually very backward, right? So being able to see them face to face, being in the same room was very helpful for me. And that was how we closed our very first client.
Thanks.
Of course, thank you.
Hi, Desmond.
Hi.
It was a great talk. I just had a question for you regarding VC investments. Typically, how dilutive are those? How much decision-making power do you cede to your investors? Have there been any decisions you didn't want to make, but you were forced to make because the investors decided it will be the best business decision?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I would say that choosing who you partner with is very crucial. Throughout the past 5 or 6 years, I've many times chose a lower price or even less funding to partner with someone who I think is good and strong. I think the first thing you really have to think about is I often talk to one of my mentors, Eric Yuan from Zoom, and he was always saying, find someone who really trusts you, who really believe in you, because things change. Companies go through ups and downs, right? Sometimes it's very good, sometimes it's very bad. So find someone who really believe and trust you first as a founder. That is the very key. So I'll say that this comes back to your choice of who you choose to partner with when you raise funding. Even more key of who you choose to bring on to your board, right? Even till now, I'll say 5, 6 years in, we only have one full board member from this Founders Fund, Keith Boyce. He has been a founder on his own many times over. Right, so he knows the ups and downs of trying to run this company. That is how we chose Keith and Keith chose us too. I would say that. So I would say that first, choose well. And then secondly, I would say that for us, we've been very blessed. We have surely been through our fair share of ups and downs, right? Trying to run this company is very tough. But I would say having partnered with many VCs and funds who have been founders on their own, they typically, when it comes to very tough choices, they often lean on us as founders. So we've been very blessed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. So really exciting discussion. If there's any further question, I guess we can take it offline later. I believe there will be networking session after this. So Thanks again, Desmond. Really.
Thank you so much, Charlie, for your time today. It was really good. Thank you, everyone.
Another round of applause, everyone. Desmond Lim, Dad of the Year. And Charlie, CTO of Vita Verify, for moderating today's chat. Before we move on to our Lohe, I'm sure you heard us arranging it just now. Right, before we move on to that, we'd like to take a group picture, if you don't mind. So everyone can still stay. Can I get our two gentlemen to sit here? And Jojo will come up and take a picture for all of us today. Thank you, Jojo. Yeah. You want to stand up or we got frame? So what do we?